of many hats, as you can tell by his PFP. But yeah, you're not just a dev, but you're also listening to the community. And that's what I absolutely love about CryptoPunks V1. Not many projects are doing that you can actually actively talk to the dev on a daily basis. So I just want to repeat that once more, that Frank is actually such a community man. And yeah, I just really absolutely love that about this project, about this community project, because you can't say project without community in with CryptoPunks V1. But yeah, that's really exciting, and we are going to be able to share with you some sneak peeks, some previews of that, and we can get your feedback as well. It's really important that we can communicate well to the Rarible team from our own community perspective as well. So this is actually one thing that we will be doing later on today. We'll be able to share with you, and it's not just to do with this, but with any sort of new plans that we have. It's so important to get your feedback, so we will be using the snapshot voting system a lot more in the future. So we will be able to share with you, if you haven't used it before, just in case you haven't, we will actually share instructions later on today, just in case, because you'll have to connect your wallet, and I know it can be, not everyone feels comfortable in doing so. So we want to make sure that we can get everyone's feedback. So we also have a suggestions channel there for those that don't feel comfortable. So that's perfectly fine as well.
And so this Rarible website, it's actually a white label product that they're going to be offering in the future to other NFT projects. And we were one of the first, I believe, that they contacted, offering to show this is what we can do.
The idea was that we would have been the very, very first. But yeah, the DMCA did stop that. So now we will be the third.
And you can see, I think a few people were quick, and they saw that Rarible had already done at least one other's Meta Angels. So that's an example of the work that they've done. And these guys are obviously pretty sharp, and they whipped that one up pretty quickly. And Frank, could you share the date that we're looking at for this one?
Yes, I can. I'll first give you another date. So the 22nd of April is my birthday. Now, we agreed with Rarible that it would be a nice birthday present for me to get that on the 22nd, but it would also give me a lot of stress on the 22nd. So we decided to launch it on the 21st of April.
Frank is looking for free birthday presents.
Yes, please send more NFTs.
Nobody listened to that part. No, that's actually really close. That's in how many days? That's less than 2 weeks. So that's actually crazy how close that is. So yeah, they're working. I'm sure they're working on it every single day up until then, because it's going to be much more complex than what we even think. Because yeah, if you want to share the details,
we have some requirements that make this marketplace very custom for us, because basically what they want to do is they want to create this white label thing that can sell any 721, and they just configure it out of the box, and 2 days later, oops, it's there, it's branded, and you can use it. Now in our case, of course, that is not really true, because I had some requirements, like I want our OGs like Hemba and the others that still have OG tokens. I want them to be able to wrap, for instance, on the website. And of course, that is something that will not be in their white label product. And something else that came out of the community that I also asked is, it would be interesting to actually see what was the mint date of the original token, and not the, and also the mint of the wrapping, the date of the wrapping, to actually see both of those dates. Instead of just the mint date of the 721. And yeah, those are things, they're just not in the white label thing. So they have to build them custom for us. That's why they're also taking a little bit more time.
And we've been hearing requests for a while about, hey, when are you guys going to improve the private marketplace? Hey, can you guys improve this? Can you improve that? But we've known that this Rarible option was just around the corner. So we weren't going to go have Frank and his team start making improvements to the website if we knew that there might have been a flashier, fancier one coming just around the corner. There's no use modifying your car if you're going to pick up a new Ferrari, a new McLaren the next week after. So we've just been patiently waiting. But most, if not all, of the requests that we've had over the past couple of months should be included in this new site, which is quite exciting.
Yeah, I'm quickly going to pitch in. to our hosts. Can you bring up Evgeniy? He's in the spaces right here.
Perfect. Yeah, he's in Lisbon as well. Very good.
Yeah, but please bring him up. He's from Rarible, and so he can also explain a little bit.
Hi, Evgeniy.
Hi guys. Hi, my name is Evgeniy. I'm head of partnerships at Rarible. First of all, I apologize for background noise. I have like people next to me. I'm in Lisbon for NFC conference.
Oh,
so
I'm fucking jealous now.
Yes, it's really fun here. It's quite crazy. Probably will get drunk tonight. But yeah, so like happy to answer all the questions. Like we are at Rarible very excited to work with the V1 Punks community. Like truly OG in the space. We had an amazing call with Frank last week. He told us about his journey in the space and the community. So super pumped. And as Frank mentioned, it will not be an easy one because you guys require some of the custom solutions. But the team is very excited and they're going to definitely build it. But happy to answer like any questions.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, I have one. We can definitely bring up. I see a few requests. But yeah, what do you think about the like? Have you created a custom marketplace before for like such a wrapper like this project before?
Yes, so we created two marketplaces. We started one with Meta Angels 2 weeks ago. The first marketplace. You can check explore.metaangelsnft.com. They're 10K PFP collections focused on community and giving back, which is really cool. So really good partners to launch with. And then last week we launched a marketplace for Wanderers NFT. If you guys are into sci-fi, definitely check it out. I think the domain is market.wanderers.ai, if I'm not mistaken, but just go to their website and there is a link. I'm wearing their PFP from their second collection. Very successful launch. I think the difference between those two launches was that Wanderers NFT, they have two collections, not one. Also, our vision for marketplace is we want to have multi-chain marketplaces because on Rarible protocol, we support Ethereum, Polygon, Flow, Tezos. We're adding Solana next week and then Mutable X. So we want to make it seamless for the consumers so they can switch between not switch between the chains if a project has one collection on Ethereum and then 10 collections on Polygon. So that was the first two collections we launched. And April 10th, we're launching the first NFT marketplace on Solana for Evgeniy Ape Academy, which is the biggest PFP collection on Solana. And fingers crossed, mid-April or late April, it's CryptoPunks V1.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for all the hard work. There's a large enough team working on it as well to make sure the deadline is going to happen for exactly in such a short time. And we do have key
switch between not switch between the chains if a project.
We also have Buvai, I see.
Yeah, hello guys.
Hi, Buvai.
Let me introduce myself first this time. And so this might be interesting, guys. I'm Bue, the first NFT artist from Mongolia, right? I joined about a year ago, and I came into this space and then got some information and then started using that information to develop the Mongolian scene here and support street artists, right? And history is very important to me, just like the V1 Punks. So, for example, or Genghis Khan, like he used to be king and almost took over half of the world. So this punk thing has been, you see, I have a Meebit. I worked up to it, and then my next target is, of course, a punk. And then late last 2 weeks, I've been just studying the punks and the history. Your websites have a lot of information, so I'm like kind of a community leader here, I guess, that most people learn the NFTs from, and I have a lot of these funds and non-profits and a lot of followers here, specifically in Mongolia. So anything that would be needed from the V1 punks for me to tell your story and give people the right information, I'd be happy to get involved. And because my eyes opened so much right over the last 2 weeks, because I never knew there was like this the first one, V1, and it had some kind of error, and then the airdrop happened, and then all that is very new to me, and I'm fascinated with NFTs. So just hearing about this historically, like, gives me a reason to try to work up to a V1 punk. For example, I have a Mooncat also and a CryptoKitties. So now the only thing missing is the historical punk.
That's fantastic. You might be a good person to ask in the future. How was your experience learning about the story? Because the biggest part of our job, sure, we need to provide the website, the platform, but it's about telling the story, communicating what happened to people. Because once people hear the story, they're really engaged and think, oh, wow, this has some kind of value. In the future, we want to look at developing some videos, some kind of video content that makes it a bit more digestible for people to get the full story without having to search left, right, and center. But it might be good for us to talk and just ask how your experience was in getting that information to where you are today.
So this is exactly like from my point of view. Okay, so in my mind, I knew that there was something called CryptoPunks. So I knew that, and then I knew there was the creator is the Larva Labs. So I knew there was like this website. And to me personally, when they were like accounts like Funks or V1 Punks, I kind of thought these were like derivatives, right? I never knew because I never knew what V1 meant, right? So I thought this is just like another derivative of a punk. And then, so I think I saw it in a tweet, or actually and then I worked up my way up to a Meebit, and then I was in the Larva Labs Discord, right? With there's a CryptoPunks channel and a Meebits channel. So one day they were talking about the V1 Punks, and then that they were saying something like, I think they got relisted or price went up, and like some copy of a tweet, and then I had no idea what a V1 was, so I was like, what's a V1? And then somebody was like, these are these kind of punks, but in that server they don't give you that much information because I think they try to stay away or something. So then I found like the time to research myself. I like found the Twitter, I found the Discord, and I just started like bombing with questions. And then once you get to the Discord, right, like everybody's so helpful, and then the articles all make sense. So like once I got there, I was like, whoa, like really my eyes open. I'm like literally saying this because I was like fascinated with NFTs for over a year. I know like everything from like even when the Bored Ape started and like every project, but then this information I didn't know, so I was like, whoa, like it was just crazy to me. So once I think you get to the Discord, or when somebody knows like what a V1 is, or like I'm not sure how that should be placed, but yeah, that's kind of how I got there.
Okay, it's good to hear your story, and glad you're a part of us now. You've got your Meebit. Maybe you can get a V1 punk eventually. Okay. Who else we got here? King, do you want to speak? Do you want to ask a question? Paulie, you're on.
So I have a pretty straightforward question. So the Rarible's making a custom marketplace for the V1s, which is obviously exciting. Does that involve like the same normal royalties that would normally be part of the Rarible marketplace? I think their royalties are 2.5%, and I'm curious if we know if that's going to be the same for the V1 marketplace.
Yes. Sorry. Someone, Frank, you wanted to say something?
Yeah.
We can't hear you, Evgeniy.
Yeah, but I'll take the question because I basically have the answer, and I'm going to mute Evgeniy because he's in Lisbon with too many people around him, and I'm jealous. So Rarible will take 1.5% in platform fees, which is less than normally on Rarible. Which also will be interesting because it will depend, because the same system, the interoperability between the platforms that Rarible and OpenSea have now will also be active on our private marketplace. So if you list something on our private marketplace, it will also be visible on Rarible, and I think even on OpenSea. And if you list something on OpenSea, it will be visible on our private marketplace. But depending on where you did list it first, you will have different platform fees. So that's already a very interesting one. So we will have to train our people, to call it like that, to always first list on our private marketplace, because like that you will have the best platform fees on the other platforms too, because they will take them over. So that,
yeah, and so it allows people to, instead of paying 2.5% via OpenSea, pay 1.5% via our website or via Rarible, right?
Yes.
That's right. Friend absolutely is correct. The only caveat is we shared order book with OpenSea and Rarible. So all V1 listings on OpenSea and Rarible, they will be visible on the private marketplace. But if you list on the private marketplace, your listing will not be visible on OpenSea because OpenSea is, they don't index on the blockchain. We basically get data from them, but they don't get data from us. So Rarible listings are not visible on OpenSea, but it works the other way around because we are friendly guys and we are here for open community rather than building walls around it.
But then we come to a second very interesting part, because Rarible did bring that question to me, and I also, as I already said, I'm always watching the Discord. Already, some other people in the Discord are talking about this DAO idea. And so another option was, indeed, we can never take royalties. We know that, and so we cannot. But we can also charge platform fees. So we could increase the platform fees with, let's say, 0.5, 1%, 1.5%. And after the spaces, I will make a proposal out of this, where we say, yes, let's say 0.5% gets selected. So these platform fees then will go to a separate wallet, where we can reuse that ETH to do marketing, to ask improvements to the platform, and so on and so on. So that will be an interesting proposal that I will make directly after the spaces today.
And this is exact model we're doing with Bet Angels and Wonder. They take 0.5% and put it back into the community, like through grants or through treasury, through community fund, to fund the future development of the project. But it's completely up to the community to decide like what transaction fees, marketplace fees you want to put on top of 1.5.
Yeah, and I think it in the question, A, are we open to the idea of doing this? B, what might the quantum be for that? And C, what would we actually use it for? And D, how would we govern it? Us as sort of the team aren't really interested in taking a salary, aren't really interested in trying to enrich ourselves through 0.5% trading fees. But perhaps it's useful to take that fee, have it somewhere to use in the future. If we are saying that we are community-led, community-governed, you can talk to us, you can give suggestions, and we'll try and enact them. Maybe this is a way of saying, okay, here's the cash that will help enact those changes moving forward. It might not be a large amount to start with, but we're not going away after 2, 3 months, 4 months, 10 months. So eventually that will build up.
Yeah, if we then look at let's call the standard ways to create a DAO, well, the first one is setting up that governance. We already have the snapshot; it is there. The second step, of course, is setting up a Genosis safe, where we will have treasurers. And what I see most DAOs do is they appoint like 9 treasurers. Well, we have enough people, and at least 5 treasurers have to approve that some money gets released. And if they don't approve, then basically they overrule whatever the proposal was, because the proposal was not valid or whatever.
Yeah, we would love to get the community's thoughts and insights on this, like what, if they have any suggestions on the top of their head, or if they want to have a think about it. But everyone is welcome to request, and we'd love to voice everyone's opinion, as many as we can.
And I think this won't be a thing that we try and rush in or do quickly. There's no urgency to it. It's just, let's start to have this conversation. Now that the question's been asked, and now that people have been talking about a DAO or some kind of setup for a while, let's talk about how we might do that. A concern of mine with setting up a DAO is that you sometimes can have too many voices in the room and become a little bit inefficient. But I think if you treat the DAO or some kind of grouping there as like your board, that is the Overwatch, that's trying to just sort of guide a few of those guiding voices together, and also the safeguard, especially if there's money involved. If there's shared money, you need to have a bunch of people safeguarding that.
Yeah, those are those treasurers. Eh? Was that a good answer to your question, Paulie? It was a very long answer, but
yeah, that covered it for sure.
Yeah. And then, well, there was some more commotion today in the Discord. And yeah, of course, if we get this fully custom built marketplace by Rarible, which will be awesome, absolutely awesome, you can ask the question, what is going to happen with our current marketplace? Because yeah, it's a zero fee, it's very simplistic, but it works well. It did run, I don't know, 5,000 ETH right now, something like that. So that will be our next question. And well, my answer at this moment, it's twofold. So we won't do big updates anymore on the marketplace as is. Because basically there is another way to do that. However, we will do quite a lot of updates on the informational part of it. Now we just have that one single about page. As Hemba already said, yeah, we need to teach the people, and we had our statement early on how somebody found the V1 punks and had to discover it. So there, the website can indeed have a very big influence. So we will definitely move the website more and more to that part. So teach people what are the CryptoPunks V1. I shouldn't call them V1 punks anymore. CryptoPunks V1. And that leaves the part of the marketplace because the market contract is still there. And there also somebody else did reach out. And of course, those are the funks. And our marketplace contract is completely compatible with their website. So they reached out to say, yeah, can we, we can't stop them even if we said no, but they reached out and they said, yeah, we are going to rebuild the not Larva Labs to also be able to include the V1s. And I would love to pressure Polly. I don't know if that is humanly possible to pressure Polly, but I'm going to try also. Polly, can we get that ready for the 21st of April too?
Will that be ready by the 21st of April? So I don't usually like to make promises about hard dates when it comes to something like implementing a new marketplace, because my thing is Murphy's Law. But in my expectation, I expect it to be ready sooner than that. In my expectation.
Yeah, this is good news, and this is Kenobi making that, right?
So Kenobi's part of the team, and the main developer for Not Larva Labs is Chopper. And
Chopper, that's right.
Yeah, so Chopper, he knows that we're having the space, and I would love to have Chopper come in if he wants to come join us. He knows about it, and I just sent him another link to it. But yeah, so Chopper's the main developer, and Kenobi's been working with him for a while now as well. Another dedicated Funk OG who's with us. Shout out Kenobi. But yeah, it's something that's been in the works for quite a while. And yeah, we've been really excited about it. The whole Yuga Labs event was definitely something that I don't think anyone was expecting, and it certainly kind of changed, at least for me, the way that I thought about the whole story and narrative. Definitely was altered by that a little bit. But it's just, to me, it's really exciting, and I think that what I've learned through my experience with Funks is kind of developed more of an appreciation for NFTs that I would consider more interesting, whether it's for historical reasons or cultural reasons or precedent reasons when it comes to the NFT space. When the V1 thing happened, it was the only really other project in the space that to me had as interesting or compelling of a narrative in a way that Funks did. I mean, the V1 thing is totally a different narrative. But yeah, it just totally resonated with sort of the ethos of what I think a lot of us in the Not Larva Labs community and Funks community are into. And yeah, like Frank said, it's the nature of how all this stuff works with open source is that we could easily just implement the smart contract into our marketplace, no problem anyways. But it's been great to have his help and have the blessing of the other builders in the community.
Thank you, Polly. Yeah, no, we'd love to see if anyone else has any more questions. I think I agree now. Let me see. Sorry, we have a few requests. Bombay, I'm gonna bring you up. But yeah, I agree probably with what you were saying. There can be more I think the only way to grow as well as a community project is to collab and have partnerships together. And we're in the NFT space for the same reason, to grow connections, to network with like-minded people. So there's always room for that. Hi Bombay.
Hey Punks, GM, how's everybody?
Doing fantastic.
Good, thank
you. I hope you're having a good Monday.
Yeah, great Monday. It's been exciting. As a recent collector of a V1 Punk as of a couple of weeks ago, it's kind of an exciting time to be a part of the community, and I've been enjoying kind of having chats with a bunch of you folks recently in the Discord. I also kind of want to address when you've got the provenance, the historical narrative, right? You've got as V1 Punks kind of a role to play in just like crafting the overall narrative of just like punks in general and how it all came about. And I think like one of the things that we're lacking, and it looks like we're all talking about it actively in the Discord, is just kind of like a unified narrative, right? Like crafting a strong narrative, even from updating the description to unifying how people perceive the V1 punks at every different touch point across Twitter, across Spaces, across Discord. We've got multiple marketplaces that we're going to be launched on, and I feel like that's all happening. But there's also like the other elephant in the room, which everyone's been talking about, is what role do we seek from like an acknowledgement perspective with respect to Yuga Labs, right? Like, what is it that we're expecting them to do? There's no more DMCA, which is fantastic. But as far as kind of furthering the narrative, furthering utility via partnerships, I've always kind of fancied this whole concept of like twin punks, right? Like in some way in the quote unquote metaverse, so like a joining of the V1s and the V2s and kind of playing this almost like a teamwork narrative. There's a lot of ideas being thrown around, but I think it's really up to us to kind of figure out some actionable steps. But I'm curious, one question I wanted to pose to everybody today is, what are the things we're seeking from Yuga Labs in the coming weeks to kind of further and cement, right, V1's place in this ecosystem?
So, yeah, thank you so much for the question. I've been thinking about this for the past couple of weeks since we got the news. How do we approach this? What do we do? What do we want? What's realistic? My expectation is that Yuga will stay silent on CryptoPunks V1, V2 for a while. I think they'll be working at the moment on trying to figure out what the commercial rights document might look like, because that's been their early promise. They already said you've got commercial rights, but they haven't formalized that in writing yet. The reason why they haven't formalized that in writing was because the deal to acquire the IP only occurred very soon prior to them announcing it. And the initial conversations they had with Lava Labs occurred very quickly in between when they actually did the deal. So they haven't had this on their desks for a long time. And so I would anticipate that they're now just watching and waiting and seeing what's happening. I think they're going to stay silent on V1s. I think if they release a commercial rights document, they're probably going to say, we give commercial rights to this contract. They'll refer specifically to the V2 contract, and they'll stay silent on the V1s. That's what I'm expecting. Anything else than that, if they don't specifically identify which contract, that would be ambiguous. And they've probably got good lawyers that don't like ambiguity. So I think they'll be quite specific in what they do. That's been an expectation of ours for a while. It's something that they can do as the IP on. However, V1 punks will exist irrespective of having the commercial rights. They did exist irrespective of having the commercial rights, and they don't necessarily need them to have value. So my thinking is, people are saying, oh, we should approach Yuga, we should try and talk to them and see what they're thinking. Oh, we should try and make suggestions or whatever. In my opinion, trying to make that approach via sort of standard channels isn't the right way to do it. Because what are we saying? What are we asking? We're saying, hey guys, we're here from the V1s. Think of us. Can you give an official comment? I just don't think it's the right way to do it. And there's other channels to go through that I'm looking at the moment to have those conversations. But my sort of focus has shifted to, as you said, we have a responsibility here to tell the story. And in my opinion, our job is to tell the CryptoPunk story, not the V1 story, not the V2 story, the CryptoPunk story. And the story of CryptoPunks, you can't tell it without telling V1s. You can't tell it without telling funks, to be honest. You can't tell it without talking about the derivatives. So my job, I think, will be, I want to try and tell the story of CryptoPunks to more people. I want to get CryptoPunks displayed in exhibitions. I want to get CryptoPunks to the level of modern day Koons, modern day Hearsts, modern day, I can't say his name, Liechtensteins, modern day Warhols, because CryptoPunks represent NFTs. CryptoPunks were NFTs before NFTs existed. And so I think if we can push CryptoPunks into that cultural area, sure, they're already there in our eyes. Sure, they've touched a few other eyes, but they haven't really been elevated yet. And we know what we're holding here in terms of these are the misprinted baseball cards that in the future people find out about. We know what we've got. We know the cultural appeal of CryptoPunks. We know it's there. We know it's somewhere in the future it's going to be fully realized. Why can't we accelerate that? And why can't we accelerate that and tell the whole true story? It's not about trying to mislead people. It's not about trying to overplay one story or another. To tell the CryptoPunk story, you have to tell the V1 Punk story. And so my focus, Frank was talking to me about something that he was looking at, or he's looking at over the coming weeks, is getting these into a modern art, contemporary art space. And so that's what I'm looking at. And,
Spoilers!
Yeah, the ambition is big. And that's the eventual goal. And I think it's really realistic. We can get it into a big museum, perhaps a global tour, V1s, V2s. But in between now and then, I think we can also do a couple of galleries along the way. And I'm actually on Wednesday going to go with Coach to talk to a Dubai-based gallery to see what we can do there. It'll be works like this on top of the platform that we've got now, on top of this base that we're setting with the community, the website, the educational material that will elevate V1 Punks and CryptoPunks to that next level. But I definitely hear what you're saying about let's get all the messaging uniform. And I do definitely think there's a place for us maybe putting together some kind of working group, so to speak, to look at ways that we can improve our presentation, how we get that messaging across to people. So open to thoughts on that. What do you think, Bombay?
This is amazing. It's incredible to hear this, the vision, and kind of how you're laying out this really from a foundational perspective. I couldn't agree more. It is about crafting the right narrative, and it is about positioning. And I think going back to what Frank and you guys mentioned earlier is like it starts with us really putting together some kind of platform fee structure just for like a community guided. I wouldn't even call it like a completely decentralized per se, like a DAO, but just like a community guided council vote that will help kind of further, really investing those platform fees into furthering the storytelling and the narrative creation and the branding and the positioning. That will need to be done consistently over a long period of time.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's not a race, and it's not something that will happen tomorrow. What we're trying to do is improve the intangibles of V1 Punks, improve the intangibles of the community. It's not about having a Discord that has 50,000 people in it. The numbers don't really matter here. It's about the qualitative elements first, because if you get those qualitative elements right, the quantitative comes later. The numbers come later. But here, we know what we're holding. We just have to let other people know the significance of what it is. And there's a way to do that that is very gradual, that can't sort of be rushed, can't be forced. Because if we try and force things, then it almost looks desperate. So what you want is people coming to you, not necessarily you going to them. So let's do our thing. Let's make those right connections. And we do have them. In this community, you get people saying, oh, I'm da-da-da, I'm this and that. How can I help? Or maybe I can connect you with this. In fact, a community member here, after our spaces a couple of weeks ago, I talked to his dad that has been in fine art for 20 or 30 years. And we were talking about what the strategy might be to get CryptoPunks into these museums. Because the modern art world, they know about NFTs, and they've known about them for a long time. They could ignore them for a long time, but they can't any longer because a lot of the participants in NFTs are extremely wealthy. There's a huge amount of money in NFTs. And with that wealth, there comes demand for fine art in general. So these gallery owners, these people in the fine art world, they're interested in NFTs because it means it'll pump the fine art bags. They want a piece of the action. So they can't ignore NFTs any longer. And at some point or another, we're going to be in contemporary art museums. And my goal is making that happen on our terms, with our story, telling the right story, telling the whole story.
It's really interesting to speculate on that aspect of it, I feel like, Hemba, because obviously, like in quote unquote NFT land, like there is so much speculation that's just sort of short-term time frame speculations, like hype, just really like quick flip hype speculations, chasing trends in this NFT sector. That's just sort of obviously a lot of money to be made there. But when you think about the potential for like these really serious art communities that have been established over hundreds of years, and amazing collectors, like when you think about those communities incorporating a project like V1 Punks, and embracing it as like a piece of modern contemporary blockchain art, it's a whole different like realm of speculation, and it's also like potentially like can be huge. I think the most people that I encounter in the NFT space tend to be speculating on a totally different aspect of the quote unquote culture, where it's like, there's been a wave now where people are much more interested in things that have like a historical narrative and have provenance. And I think that's one of my favorite things about V1 Punks is, like, for example, with Funks, like there's been a lot of interesting events, but the events are not things that you can just point to on chain. Whereas like I feel like so many of the core things excuse me, about V1 Punks, you can just, the story is right in front of you on chain in terms of the deployment of the V2 contract and them airdropping them. That's one thing that I love about it, because like when you're talking about how people have to, or discussing with Bombay, like how we want to be on the same page and kind of have maybe like a cohesive narrative, that's like something that always cracks me up, is like, I'm passionate about my crypto funks and that community. And like sometimes people say like, oh, what are funks all about? And it's like, I can tell you my opinion all day, and like I could talk like I'm speaking on behalf of a group of people that collect an NFT, but like I'm just one person. And the V1 Punks story is a lot of it's told on chain. And yeah, Hemba's story is like one of my favorite NFT stories. As a geek for this shit, like I love the legend of Hemba. I'm a fan for that.
I think it's, if you imagine somebody that is external to NFTs, somebody that is even external to modern art, fine art. I'm external to fine art, modern art. How would you introduce the story of NFTs? In a historical sense, in an artistic sense, in a cultural sense. You would have to do that with CryptoPunks, right? Because they were likely the most influential project. And okay, if you're talking about the CryptoPunk story, what are some of the really key things within it? And so, as I said before, you've got V1s, you've got V2s, you've got the founders, you've got the different scandals along the way, you've got the derivatives. Yeah, I think it's really easy to imagine telling the CryptoPunk story as a way to tell the NFT story. And that expression of these are just 24 by 24 bit pixelated images, randomly generated just by the tap of a button, 98 attributes, but they were what led to what we know as NFTs today. They are worth $250,000 each as the V2, or $30,000 each as the V1. Here they are side by side, the V1, the V2. Here's a video explaining what they are. Here's a physical derivative work. Here's 500 HD screens all around you in a big room. I think that's a really attractive thing. And there haven't actually been, to my knowledge, NFT displays at major museums yet. And which one do you think the first should be? It's not going to be an NFT display of necessarily modern ones, 2021, 2022 NFTs, I don't think. For it to be a serious contemporary art exhibition, it has to be these historic pieces. And what is a better story to tell than the CryptoPunks story? So that's the eventual vision. And we just got to get there gradually, not force it, just make those natural connections and tell the story the right way, do it the right justice. And yeah, I mean, it's quite easy to imagine this going to stratospheric heights if you tell the story correctly. Because if the story is told correctly in exhibitions all across the world, then all of these galleries, the Gagosians, for example, they're going to want to have punks inside them for sale. They're going to want to then do their own derivatives of those punks for sale. They're going to want to have signed copies or what have you. And suddenly then, at the fancy boutique on your corner, you might have some Bitcoin artwork in there. You're going to have a CryptoPunk in there. And you might have a V1 in there too. Or maybe your CryptoPunk is a V1 in there. Like, all we got to do is tell the story and tell the story in the right way. And I think the here and now between them is really important as that foundation. Anyway, I've been talking a lot. Who's next?
One more question, Hemba, is can you give me some deeper context around, one of the things that when a newcomer to the V1 story or just CryptoPunks in general, like an outsider, comes in looking at V1s, one of the things is, okay, is this one of how many, right? The question of like, what is the determined supply of an asset? And so, in terms of the number that now Yuga Labs has, compared to the number of maybe the ones that are just lost forever versus the ones that are maybe waiting to be wrapped or rewrapped. That would also be something that just might be important to highlight that as we think about crafting this narrative.
Yeah,
in the weeks and months to come.
It's a question that's asked a lot. So we probably should find a way to display this prominently for people. We know that there's more or less 2,500, maybe 2,700 wrapped right now. We know that there's a 10,000 fixed supply. We know that Yuga Labs has more or less 1,100 of them. And our best guess is that we're probably going to see, say, 6,000 or 7,000 eventually. But we know that some of these large holders aren't necessarily in a rush to sell them. We know that maybe a lot of these won't come to market ever. Whether that's because Yuga will never touch them, which I doubt if we get these big enough. Is that because some wallets have completely disappeared? Yes, because there's been a lot of V2 wallets that have disappeared and they've got hundreds of punks in them and they've never woken up, or 50 punks, 100 punks. So there certainly are wallets that have disappeared. So our best guess is 6,000 or 7,000, 2,500 wrapped right now. And I think a relatively small number actually listed on market compared to that. So yeah, there is more of a scarcity to V1s, in my opinion, than to V2s. And I think it will be a while before that expected full supply of, say, 6,000 actually comes online. There are several wallets with lots of them that haven't touched them yet. Haven't touched them and maybe won't touch them for a long time. We know that some of the larger holders that also hold V2s want to hold on to the matching pairs that they've got because they could see that vision too. If they want to have their punks in a museum, they better have the pairs. I think that might be, that's one of the things that we're looking to talk about more of, and that's one of the narratives in terms of having the pairs. I think it really is a good aesthetic to have them side by side, your V1 and your V2. That's your conversation starter. If you've got two of them hanging on your wall, it's, hey, what are those? Why are they different colors? There's your conversation. Art is about conversations, is about story, is about scandal, is about controversy. Yeah, to me, all this stuff is, I don't know, obvious, this sort of long-term goal. It's obvious where this could or should go. What isn't obvious is the time frame. What isn't obvious is the specific path. However, that will come because we know what the actual vision is. So I'm sort of unconcerned with it. It's just a matter of taking it day by day, seeing what arises in between them.
I think it's interesting what you said about sort of making the distinction between what makes something art. And I think a lot of the stuff that I see in the NFT space, to me, registers much more as like a collectible in terms of the value proposition behind it and the way that it's being presented to people and the narrative behind it. Whereas like something like V1 Punks to me is so much more true art because it creates questions, it's stimulating, it 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 involves so many different aspects of culture and art and history that, like, if, for example, and this cracked me up yesterday when I looked at like some floor prices just to get a sense of like where V1 Punks were at. I'm looking at Doodles and the floor is like 16 ETH, and then I look at V1 Punks and there's like still several listed for under 10 ETH, and to me that's like, just for my brain, like unfathomable. Like, how can an original CryptoPunk be that much cheaper than a doodle? Like, because sure, you can say that you like the pictures of doodles or whatever, but like, what is there to discuss intellectually or like in terms of art or creativity or conceptually? Like, I don't see anything like that in most projects. I always like to kind of joke about doodles because I think it's kind of funny and ironic that it's become valuable. But yeah, I don't know what you guys think about that, but it's, to me, V1 Punks is like such the undeniable, like, most meaningful piece of NFT art that I can think of. I've always been a fan of punk since I found out and I think what I saw happening with Larva Labs is what really made me have any sort of different opinion other than just pure admiration for like how I thought CryptoPunks were cool.
Yeah, I think if you're trying to imagine what might be inside of a modern art textbook under the NFT page in a few years, you know that CryptoPunks are going to be there. And I don't want to say whether other stuff is good or bad because I don't know. At the end of the day, it's just asset reallocations. The way that these NFTs move, it's a new asset class within crypto, and it moves insanely quick. Projects that have been launched this year are being talked about as this buzzword blue chip. It moves so quickly from one week to the next. You sort of can't keep up. But in terms of the value proposition for V1 Punks, it's quite clear. The value proposition for CryptoPunks, it's quite clear. So you can always sort of have comfort in that, knowing, okay, well, I know what I've got. So between here and whatever happens in between is just a question of what liquidity have I got, and how much attention span I've got to this or to other stuff. Voldy, your turn.
Hey, thanks for bringing me up, GM. So I'm entirely neutral third party. I don't own punks. I don't own V1 punks, although I plan to at some point acquire them in the future. But as far as why people would purchase a doodle over V1, my perspective, that there's a lot of people who are waiting on the sidelines right now, waiting especially for the wrapping process to kind of run its course over the period of maybe this year, because everyone knows that's kind of happening and they don't know at what rate. It's kind of an intangible and not something anyone can precisely say how many more are to be wrapped or how many are even in existence. So I think like zooming out, as it's so like overstated that people I think that are going to be interested in this project have a time horizon of 2, 3, 5, 7, 10 years, and they're not necessarily going to be as focused on the month-to-month price action like some of the more hyped projects are. Like you could say even Doodles or some of the projects that have come out in the past couple of years. I think people who would be interested in this project have a much longer time horizon, and at least that's the way I look at it. So that's my non-holder perspective on this situation.
Yeah, I think that's a really good view, and I think what we might start to see going forward is large allocators. They might be various different people, but people with a decent size balance sheet and with, as you said, that long-term vision that perhaps want to take a stake in V1s or speculate on V1s. And I think the way they might try and do it is by trying to buy out some of the larger holders. I think you're dead right that a lot of people are just waiting to see what's going to happen. And the big question in the back of their mind is, okay, is somebody just going to wake up tomorrow and flatten the market? Is a lot of supply going to gradually come on the market and keep it down? There are still so many unknowns, and those unknowns get answered through time and gradual actions. I think that's a good take, Foldy.
Thanks. Yeah, and I agree. Like you said, there's going to be capital allocators that are going to look to accumulate on dips. They're going to look to buy out. There's going to be punks who are going to look to buy their pair. So I think there'll be for sure interest. It'll be interesting to see also how the IP plays out with V1 versus V2.
B, you got your hand raised?
Yes. Thank you very much, guys. I mean, this is amazing what you did and what are looking forward to do in the next steps of CryptoPunks. I'm from Mexico City. Actually, last week I received a very good information from Frank and from Irish about the history of and the lay of the CryptoPunks. So it's amazing to hear from you guys who has been involved from the beginning in this project. And I just jumped a little bit late, and I saw that there is a collaboration with Rarible. And actually, my question in the last week was, what is the future of the CryptoPunks if they're still, thinking or is there any risk to something happen or disappear? But I see that with this, different approach that you have been doing, looks like we will have CryptoPunks forever. So the question is, what kind of collaboration are you doing with Rarible, and what is the scope or the goals that you are pursuing with this collaboration?
Good question. Maybe I can help to answer that. So we talked about it earlier. Rarible came to us a couple of months ago and offered to build us a marketplace to show off what they can do. They're creating a white label product. We will build out your customized marketplace that will work through the Rarible site. You'll have your own custom site, and it'll also interact with OpenSea. So it's a really easy option for people to contact Rarible, get their site developed, and it'll be done in a couple of weeks. And just like that, we contacted them again recently, and they reckon they're going to have our site done up in the next couple of weeks. So we'll have a fancy new website made by Rarible by the end of this month.
Great.
21st.
Okay, that's amazing. Congratulations, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the question. And Polly, congrats on your new acquisitions today. I'm sure you're so happy.
Yeah, that's why I couldn't sleep. I was too excited. I'm like, to me, it's so surreal. Like, I can't even believe I own one V1 punk. You know what I mean? Like, because I've been like in NFTs and crypto for like a short period of time, but it's been a very extreme and intense period of time because I've been so like obsessed with it. But yeah, like I just remember like it was like a day ago talking to G Money and him being like, "Oh, you should sell all your fake crypto punks and buy like a real one." And I was like, "Fuck that!" Like at the time, I was like, "You want me to sell everything in the world so I can buy one crypto punk?" And I didn't end up doing it, but now I own 10 V1s, and like I feel way better about that than owning one V2. You know, it's just funny. Like what was like impossible a very short period of time ago is now a little bit more within reach. So that's like one of the cool things about this space is like how if you really are passionate about it and dedicated and you just devote your time to it and you learn by way of passion, like a lot of really interesting opportunities can happen. And that's another thing. Like for me, I want to own like maybe some more high ticket V1s eventually, but I can't like I don't feel like as good about buying one for like $300,000 as I do having like a little bit more quantity. But like I that's what I did with Funks, for example, is like I minted a bunch of them and then I kind of just continuously and obsessively like flipped my collection and was able to sort of get a lot more pieces that like I wanted to have. And like that's one thing that I do want to do with V1s is like I don't know, I want like a fucking hoodie like Sean Bonner, you know what I mean? I want to have some cool guy shit too. I don't know. I'm just like a kid in a candy store right now. I'm just excited about this stuff because I'm a geek for it.
100%. I like how you said there, like, it's about the people around you as well that pushes you forward. Like, a lot of us would say that we are addicted to NFTs. I know I am probably too addicted to NFTs, if that's possible. But yeah, it's definitely the people around you that push you forward in this space. And like, we definitely have an amazing team here. No doubt about that. And thanks, Polly, for your kind words. Do we have any other questions or any other suggestions, especially that we have a Rarible team member here, the head of partnerships at Rarible, to answer any additional questions?
I'm curious if there's any plans to like help promote the marketplace, or like if they plan on kind of amplifying it via their socials and their networks at all. Maybe you can tell us about that, Evgeniy.
Absolutely. So that's the plan. When we launch the marketplace, we want to use all our channels to tell the story of CryptoPunks V1 to our community, which includes doing tour spaces with you guys on Rarible accounts, using our social, our newsletter, featuring punks on Rarible's homepage. If you go right now to rarible.com, you'll see Wanderers featuring there, and if you click on the banner, it takes you to the marketplace, to Wanderers marketplace. So we'll definitely do the same with punks, but I just personally feel that there is way more story to tell to our community, and we have a lot of people, and we onboarded a lot of people to NFT space, but they might not be familiar with your story. So to answer your question, absolutely, we'll do that, all that.
Thank you so much for being here. How do we pronounce your name? I'm probably saying it wrong. Evgeniy.
It's Evgeniy, but people call me Ev because people always screw my name, and I just gave up. It's Ev.
I share the same issues with you. My real name is Neve, and nobody knows how to pronounce it, so I'll call you Ev from now on. Thank you.
Yeah, I always struggle in Starbucks when they try to write my name. So, yeah, it's hard. Life is hard.
Apparently, in Starbucks, they do that on purpose. It's a marketing tactic. If anyone didn't know that, why they always spell your name wrong. But there you go. We learn something new every day.
That sounds like a V2 CryptoPunks type of marketing thing. Like they accidentally fucked up the contract to get a little marketing in.
Oh, Polly, you never cease to to surprise people. Okay, in Intel Strata, I recognize you very well. You're basically our #1 graphic designer in the community. So how are you doing today?
Hey, thanks for having me up. Doing well. Very excited to hear about the new marketplace and the progress of what's seemingly a grassroots initiative, and just kind of hats off to the to Frank for pushing that forward. I'm sort of sitting back and listening to the vision of what Hemba was talking about with respect to getting into the fine art galleries, and I'm just I just want to put a point out there. I think it's important to have a vision that is kind of shared by the community to sort of help guide decisions as we move forward with respect to protecting what a V1 is against the backdrop of a V2. Obviously, there is assumptions in what I'm saying with respect to what I think a V1 is with respect, against the backdrop of V2s, and that's not by any means what I'm trying to promote. But the idea is that if there's a shared horizon amongst the group about what they see a V1 as, just to sort of tread carefully as we move forward and as it gets more and more attention, because I would imagine that there would be a lot of groups interested in partnering and being a part of something as special as this. But when you have a refined vision, you have the ability to navigate one way versus another to protect kind of what it represents, or what at least the group thinks it represents. And I imagine that would be something that might move and change and be nimble over time. But I can tell you now, just paying attention on the Discord, there are a lot of people who are keen on participating and wanting to carve that out a bit better, a little bit more solid, to protect the kind of the historical integrity of what it is and what it represents. So just want to put the 2 cents out there. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I think that's a good thought. And I guess we'd encourage people, the way that we want to do that is by having those public conversations, whether it is via Discord or whether it is via these spaces. We want to hear not only people saying, yes, do that, but the people that say, no, maybe don't do that for these reasons. because our job at the end of the day is to just guide this project. We don't know what form the project might take in the future. We can have our goals. We can think we like these things about it now, but that might change in the future. We can have one view now and that changes. But yeah, what I'd encourage people is just to participate, to tell us what they like, to tell us what they don't like. And if enough people tell us they don't like something, then I guess it's our job to try and fix it. Yeah, that's what I'd say. So participate in these calls and talk to us, ask questions, and tell us what you like or don't like, or suggestions for what we could do.
Yeah, and I think that with respect to the narrative that things can change over time with respect to what this is, there are fundamental qualities about what it is that can't be changed with respect to provenance and how this came to be that I think ought to be protected moving forward. And I think the group is doing that, which is fantastic. And then that part can always be in tandem with whatever this is marketed as moving forward. So that's the other part. Like, while I do acknowledge the fluidity in what it can transform into, there are those markers that keep it, something pretty definite that I don't think can change. So I hope that we can work together to maintain that.
Yeah, I think I get what you're saying. It's sort of, we don't want to dilute what this is, or change the shade of what this is through poor actions along the way, or poor messaging, or tacky things. So it's that thing of, we want to keep moving in the right direction, but we don't want to be so fast that we're tripping over ourselves and we're doing embarrassing things, or we're doing things with the wrong people along the way. We're trying to be too pop, for example. There'll be a way for us to get the message out, and there'll be a way we shouldn't the message out. So yeah, that's where we'll need to be guided by the community to say, ooh, maybe that's not such a good idea, as we go.
Yeah, well said. And then the idea that there might be a DAO in the future that's pulling in funds makes that a little bit more prudent, I think, because that allows you to mobilize. It mobilizes the group to do some pretty interesting things. But thanks for that, though. I appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you. And just to reiterate as well, when mentioned there at the end of it, DAO, like, I am all for DAO 100%, and the reason why is because, like, your vote, in a way, like, it's your power. So, like, by being a holder, you have a say in how the community grows. I think that's so important with a lot of projects. But yeah, we're trying to get as many suggestions and feedback first, before we jump down that route entirely. But yeah, it's interesting. Like, even similar to the way that we did it for the name of the CryptoPunks versus V1 Punks, it will be, like, continued the same way. So we have so many more plans as well in the future. If anyone else has any more questions, I think, Ev, I'd love, you can go back to your Lisbon event. You've been so nice to explain and answer any of the questions that are here, but I'd love for you to go and enjoy yourself now.
Thank you, guys. It was my pleasure. It's all love. I'm excited to work with you and your community. And yeah, I'll go and get drunk probably right now. So thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jeff. That was a really, really nice explanation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
I'm super fucking excited to see V1 Punks on the front page of Rarible. I just think, like Hemba keeps saying, timeframes are a little bit different when it comes to a project like this, in my opinion, because it has so much more significance and it has so much more sort of education and context required. But I just think that having more exposure and giving more people an opportunity to understand the story behind this project and the story behind the Punks contract, and that's not just important to understand, like, the value of these assets, but it's also pretty essential information to just understand NFTs in general. And, like, the fact of the matter is that there would not be this Twitter space if CryptoPunks. I mean, obviously, if CryptoPunks didn't exist, there would be no NFT space, in my opinion, because all this stuff is really driven by PFP collections in many ways. All the liquidity that's in this market is as a result of these huge PFP communities that have become, like, really a little small phenomenon, in my opinion. But that's all punk derivatives. PFP projects are punk derivatives.
Yeah, CryptoPunks inspired what we know as NFTs today, what we know as specifically PF NFTs today. I think, what's his name? Creator of Ethereum, Vitalik, he said as much when they talked about the ERC 721 standard. It was inspired by CryptoPunks. CryptoKitties was inspired by CryptoPunks. And all of the PFP stuff, all of the 10,000 series stuff, that was inspired by CryptoPunks. They've all done it a different way, and sure, now we're seeing a very different evolution from that. But there is absolutely no denying that CryptoPunks were where it began. There was more historic things. There is stuff that's perhaps more valuable and historic for a singular item, but there's no denying that CryptoPunks is where it began. And so when we have people from the V2, from the real CryptoPunk side, talking about V1's a broken contract, it's this and that, it's nothing, it misses the point. The point is that CryptoPunk is significant historically, and if you want to tell that story correctly, you better tell the whole story. And V1 punks are a huge part of that story. So if we can agree on nothing else, it's that CryptoPunks are historically significant, and you better bet that V1s will be in that conversation.
I also love one interesting detail about like the story of punks early on, and which obviously involves Hemba in many ways, because for those who don't know, he minted more CryptoPunks than anyone, including Larva Labs. So that's a pretty legendary claim to fame. Shout out. But the part of the story that Hemba's told is that the thing that kind of put CryptoPunks out onto people's radars was that Mashable had published an article about CryptoPunks right when they first were created, and the title of the article was something along the lines of like, could this NFT collection change the trajectory of like modern art and art essentially. And that's what I think we're looking at now in this situation, where it's like a lot of this market right now is being dominated by stuff that I would classify more as collectibles versus art. But I think that art over time will accrue value, and like wealthy people invest in desirable and like museum quality art, because it tends to over time outperform almost every other market. And yeah, I don't know, I just, as someone that's passionate about art, and like you mentioned the Gagosian earlier, and like I've done a little bit of work in there in the past, and like I'm passionate about art, and I also like collecting shit. And yeah, I don't know, I to me it's such a compelling and cool narrative, and I wouldn't feel the same if it was just a collectible.
Yeah, definitely. Now, unless we've got any additional speakers, anyone else that wants to ask a question? Neve, are we ready to wrap this one up?
Ready to wrap
Start
up
again next week.
I see Cody is in the audience. Polly, would he like to say some last words just before we go?
I would love to hear from him. Maybe he's preoccupied with something else, but listening. I mean, one thing I will say is we're super fucking excited about getting the V1s out onto the Not Larva Labs marketplace. It's something that's been in the works for quite a while now, and yeah, we're super excited about that. I know that I've had some interactions in the V1 Discord where some people seem to have like some kind of concerns about it. If that's the case, I mean, sure, no one's ever going to always be 100% like harmonious or unanimous, but to me, it's just great exposure, and it's a great opportunity to sort of put two things that resonate with me on the same marketplace. And what I'll say about it is that like everyone who's part of the Not Larva Labs project is super fucking proud of that marketplace. We're super proud of what we've built there, and it's just taken. It's a work of passion that has been built for free, all community built, and we love it, and we think it's the best marketplace, and we think that having V1 punks on the best royalty-free marketplace in the space is great for all parties involved. And yeah, some people, I get the sense that some people are like, oh, we don't want to be associated with this community or with this project or whatever it is. But the way that this stuff works is that we could easily just build this if we didn't want to, but we feel like we have the blessing of the people involved, and the blessing of our community and the V1 punks community overall. But my thing is like, I just hope everyone is excited, because we are, and I don't really see anything but upside to this situation. And Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just really looking forward to it.
Yeah, Paulie, my view is sort of if you spend enough time floating around NFT space, looking at people's wallets, from large wallets to small wallets, you see punk derivatives everywhere, like obvious derivatives. And I don't think people should feel threatened by that. Obviously, if something is trying to be misleading, that's not something good. But I don't think you need to feel threatened by derivatives. I don't think you need to feel threatened by communities being positive or being engaged. Yeah, for me, it's not something worth spending energy on. But as you said, some people are going to be upset. Some people are not going to be upset. It sort of is the way it goes because now the NFT space is so big and full of so many different people from different places with different objectives. Some people are here for the art. Some people have transcended money. Other people here are trying to and make their way up. People are here for all different reasons. There's enough space for everyone.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, look, right in the nick of time. I was just thinking of my friend Chopper. Chopper just joined. If Chopper's able to maybe come up and say a few words or anything, Chopper, we've been chatting, and we just touched a little bit about on how we're excited to put the V1s on Not Larva Labs. Talking about how there's a few people that have said, oh, voicing different concerns and that, but just telling everyone that we're super proud of Not Larva Labs and we think it's the best royalty-free marketplace. And one question I was asked by Frank earlier, Chopper, was if we think it's possible to get the V1s live by the 21st of this month. And I told them that we feel confident that we are able to, but that was a question that I would have preferred you answer directly, since it's more relevant to you as the developer. But yeah, I'm optimistic, definitely confident that we will be able to. But Chopper, maybe you can chime in. How are you, Chopper?
Yo, what's up, guys? Sorry, I just woke up, so I'm a little out of it. But yeah,
No worries.
21st is no big issue at all. We're actually we've actually done the integration. It's complete. All we got to do is a bit more testing with the Rinkby contracts, and we're good to go.
Amazing. Thank you so much. That's brilliant. So we get a 2-in-1 on the one day on the 21st. So that's going to be a very busy day for all of us, I'm sure. Thank you. Okay, if there's no more questions, we will do the exact time next week. So every Monday, 4 p.m. GMT, and they'll always be recorded as well for anyone that does miss it. If you're listening to this Twitter space and you're not already in our Discord or following the main page above, please do follow us and get into the Discord. If you have any questions at all, there is an amazing team there to help you. You can speak to any one of us if you want to ping us, do so as well in the general chat. It's no problem at all. We're all here to support you and guide you. But yeah, if there's no more questions, I want to say thank you so much to everyone that has spent couple of minutes there listen to all of us rant on and support you and show you the future of CryptoPunks V1. So thank you.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Thank you.
Molly.
Thank you so much, everybody. See you next week.
Bye. Bye.